Mr. Stewart, welcome to Honor Cafe Hall of Heroes.
Thank you.
We had you on here doing a little video short where you're talking about the Honor Cafe, but today we want to talk about your service, your military service. Where are you from?
Conroe, Texas.
You're in Conroe.
Born and raised right here.
Back home. And we're at the Honor Cafe, and like you said before, it was a great place to eat. So you went to Conroe High School. When did you graduate?
63.
Wow. That's been a bit ago.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Why did you come back to Conroe? I know it's your home, but what's special about Conroe?
It's just where I grew up. When I got out of the service, I came back home here and joined Houston Police Department. So I commuted from Conroe to Houston for 30 years.
Served in the military, then served in the police force. You know, I'm here as a transplant, and I stayed because I just love the people. And it's an amazing place. They love veterans. And so when did you enter service?
When did I enter?
Yes, sir.
I graduated in 63. Went into service in October of 63.
So you graduated Conroe High School?
Graduated Conroe High School, enrolled at Texas A&M University. All my running mates and friends here got drafted because they didn't go to college or didn't enroll in college. And I unenrolled from Texas A&M and enlisted in the United States Army.
Why the Army?
My brother had graduated from A&M and was a Corps commander at Texas A&M in the Corps, and he was in field artillery. So he was in the Army.
So did you get a choice in what you wanted to do?
Oh, it was my choice.
As far as a job in the Army?
Pretty much, yeah.
So what did you do?
Well, I enrolled in ASA, Army Security Agency, as a radio code interceptor. And Vietnam was just starting. It hadn't really got started good yet. About the time I got in the ASA, I was at Fort Devens, Massachusetts, which for a boy from the South to go up there in dead winter and have snow waist deep was culture shock. There was a group of us, a big group of us, pulled out of ASA and sent to the infantry or to the Army because of Vietnam. And I happened to be one of the lucky ones that got pulled out and shipped to Fort Benning, Georgia, 11th Air Assault, which 11th Air Assault was under Hal Moore, and it became the 1st Cavalry Division. Because of Korea, the Cav had got overrun and lost its colors, so they couldn't be back in the States. So we were the 11th Air Assault. And as we did our training at Benning, when we finished our training to go to Vietnam, half of us went to Jungle Survival School.
Was that still in Panama?
Panama.
Yeah.
And I've been from East Texas. Hell, I'd walked in the woods all my life and got up there and I hooked up with a couple of Yankees from New York City. And one of our final tests was to transverse the Panama Canal, the peninsula, to go from the Gulf of Mexico to the ocean. We had 3 days to do that. We had limited supplies, like a fish hook and a piece of string and a knife and a waterproof matches. So we took off, the 3 of us. These boys were both from Queens, New York. And I told them when we started, I said, y'all either keep up or I'll leave your ass behind because I'm going to the ocean. And we started walking. We showed up on the beach. We had a compass. And we showed up on the beach. Went swimming. We were dirty or just hot and sweaty. We stripped off and jumped in the ocean, and the shore patrol come cruising the beach. And they said, "What are y'all doing?" We said, "We're swimming." "Well, where'd y'all come from?" "Over yonder, the other side of the mountain." And I said, "We're in the jungle warfare school, and we had 3 days to get across here, and it took us 2. And they said, you couldn't have done that in 2 days." I said, "You can't do it if you know how to walk." And they radioed and got another Jeep out with some of the cadre from the survival school. And they said, "Where are you from?" We told them. And they said, "You can't do that." I said, "We're here. We didn't fly. We didn't have a helicopter. We walked." And so they carried us back in a Jeep to the camp, and we set a new record for crossing the peninsula or the straits, and doing it in 2.5 days instead of 5 days. And I had 2 Yankees that were scared to death. They'd never eaten anything off the ground, off Mother Earth, and they'd never walked in the jungle. They'd never caught wild animals and cooked them over an open fire. The only trees they'd ever seen was in Central Park till they got in the Army. And we became close friends. We
Wow.
served from there and went on home for a few days leave, and then went to the West Coast and got on Flying Tiger Airlines and started our trek toward Vietnam.
What year did you get to Vietnam?
64.
From the time you got into Vietnam, how quick did you see combat?
From the air just above the runways, when we landed at Saigon, the airfield was being martyred.
Wow.
And we were told on the plane, we're dressed in khaki clothes, we're told on the aircraft, when the doors open, hit the ground running. We had no weapons, and they said, "Go toward that big building over there," which is a hangar.
Yeah.
And we hit the ground and ran over there, and was issued our weapons and our jungle fatigues and stuff there.
When was your first mission?
Got to An-Khe, where we were all assigned first calf. We got into An-Khe, and got our survival gear, our packs and everything, and immediately loaded on helicopters and went out and joined our battalion in the field.
Where was that?
On Drang Valley.
Wow. When did you meet? You were with the guys from New York then, still. They
Yes.
were with you, so
Yes.
you guys were all together. So what was it like? I know a lot of people when they deploy, it's kind of surreal. It's not like you think it's going to be. But what stood out to you about being different the first time you went out and with the air cab and did a mission?
Well, we flew into a hot LZ. We flew into Drang Valley. There was still some skirmish fighting going on. The major impact of the fight was over. We were there as a cleanup unit. We removed a lot of dead bodies, both ours and North Vietnamese. And a lot of wounded. We got them on the helicopter transport. And then we were there like 3 or 4 days before they pulled us all out and took us back to base camp, give the guys that had fought the Battle of Ia Drang a few days rest, and then we took off on another mission. We never spent very much time at all at An-Khe.
What was the biggest air assault mission that you participated in?
Probably the Bon Son Valley, which was down on the coastline. We went in as a company of 144, 48 men, and we got ambushed as a company and we called for air support. I was a radio operator because that's how that ASA radio training. And I communicated with Hal Moore, who was battalion commander. He was White Horse. 2-3 was his radio call sign. And communicated with him, and we got ambushed, got hit hard. I called back to him and told him I needed a fire mission. And he called back to me and he said, "Floyd, do you know where you are?" And I said, "Hell yeah, I know where I am." He said, "Where is 6, who is the company commander?" And I said, "He's about 20 yards in front of me, shot. I don't know if he's alive or dead." "Where's your XO?" And I said, "He is dead." "Where's his operator, who was their field artillery spotter?" I said, "He's dead." I said, "I'm the only one down here that's alive, and I need some fucking help." And he said, "Stand by," and this guy come on our radio net, and Daily Dozen was my call sign. He said, "Daily Dozen, this is Salty Flakes 2-3. How can we assist?" I told him I wanted a fire mission, time on target, delayed fuse, fire for effect. He said, "We'll fire 1 round of smoke." And I said, "Don't fire smoke, just fire HE. If I don't answer you, you're right on target." And he fired HE and fired a volley of 6 rounds. And they were like Volkswagens. You could see the rounds coming through the sky. And it was a battleship Missouri.
Really?
And it was sitting 12 or 18 miles offshore. I don't remember how far he was offshore, but it was just under 20 miles. And every time he fired a volley, you could see those rounds coming through the air. They looked like Volkswagens. And fire for effect, time on target, fire for effect is they fired until you tell them to quit. So he fired and fired and fired, and I lost my radio microphone just from a concussion bouncing around. Finally, I found it, and I was about that tall, hugging the ground, and I called for a ceasefire, and he said, "Stand by, Daily Dozen, there's a volley in air, and I can't turn it back." And we stayed down until that 6 or 8 rounds hit the ground, got up, and there was not a single man hit by shrapnel of the whole company. And circling downrange, or uprange, I guess, I was in A company, B company, C company, and D company were all airborne circling to come in and get us out. And one of the prettiest sights you'd ever seen is 150 helicopters loaded with troops. It's hard to talk about this.
It's okay. Just take a minute.
Coming down that valley floor. Colonel Moore was in the lead helicopter. And they landed and we got our wounded out. Our wounded were all hit with gun bullets. Nobody was hit with shrapnel. And we got out of there and went back to Ankh. Spent 5 days in Ankh, kind of rest and recuperation. Out of 144 men, 28 of us walked out.
When they resupplied your company with FNGs, what was it like when so few of you survived and all these new guys were coming in? How was that? How hard was that to handle?
It was tough. It was tough to get them acclimated to what we're going to do. Yeah. They could either follow us or get left behind. We didn't care. We went back, but we generally had a little time to spend with them, to meet them more or less. At Camp Radcliffe, which is on K. Didn't have much time. We wouldn't stay in base camp more than 5 or 6 days.
How was it? How did it feel getting a new company commander? That must have been hard.
Oh, we got new company commanders weekly. It's kind of like changing your underwear when you had clean underwear.
Oh, jeez.
Your company commanders didn't stay with you very long. They'd get rotated out. Had a captain named Williams from Wyoming that stayed. I stayed with him longer than anybody else, and we became good friends. Colonel Moore stayed with him the whole time he was there as battalion commander, and
Well, you got wounded.
yeah, I got hurt a couple of times.
Tell us about that when you got dragged off the field and that
Well,
story.
What you saw back here in the States during that in the newsreels was action that took place yesterday for us. It'd take them a day to get the film out of the field to the Philippines, processed into the States, so it could be put on Channel 13 News. I got hit, or I got blowed up by a concussion grenade that landed right beside me almost, and was knocked unconscious. My parents saw me here in Conroe, Texas, being drugged by my pack straps through a rice paddy to a helicopter.
It must have been horrific for them.
For them, it was. I was unconscious, and I woke up 3 days later. I was in Da Nang in the hospital, and there was a black medical nurse standing there beside me. Never forget her name, because her namesake was my mother and father's best friends here in Conroe, named Kuntz. And she was a captain. She was black. Her friend, my parents' friends here were white. They had a beauty shop, but I was laying there in bed, and all of a sudden I just opened my eyes up, and she was bending over me in the bed. And I said, "Ma'am," and she liked to jump through her butt, like scared her to death. And she said, "Oh, you're alive?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Where am I?" And she told me. Said, "You've got to see the colonel, the doctor."
Yeah.
So she went and got the medical doctor. He come in and he said, "Son, how do you feel?" I said, "Like I've been asleep." And I had a bunch of little bitty scratches all over me from shrapnel. And he said, "You need to go call your mother." I said, "Aren't I still in Vietnam?" He said, "Yeah, you are. We'll do a radio call back States." So they put me in a wheelchair and took me to a comm shack, and we did a radio telephone call back to Conroe, Texas, to assure my mother that I was okay. And unbeknownst to me, Lady Bird Johnson was on that same line. My dad and LBJ were pretty tight, pretty good friends back then. And Lady Bird, she asked me, I'd been out to their ranch before he was president, and she said, "Floyd Wayne, how are you feeling?" And I said, "Pretty good." I said, "I'm not hurting anywhere. I just woke up." And we visited on the phone maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and then I told them bye, and they were having a Bob Hope concert with all the go-go girls next door. And I told the doctor, I said, "Can they push me around to that concert?" Yeah. So I went and saw Bob Hope's concert, and then the next day I went back to the field.
So you saw action after that?
Oh, that was right at the start. Yes.
Oh,
Quite
man. How much longer were you there?
Probably another 10 months. I hadn't been there very long when all this took place. I got malaria, and I went back was coming back stateside, had orders to come home. And because I had 3 types of malaria active at one time, which made me a carrier. So if a mosquito bit me and then bit you, you got malaria from me. And we flew out of Da Nang to the Philippines. And they had a stack like cardwood in this cargo plane, medevac plane, about 6 high on stretchers on the sidewalls. And as we got off, they started carrying us down a gangplank, and there was a little airman standing there, and he picked up what they call a toe tag. It was just your ID tag, and it said Sam, S.H., Sam Houston. He crossed that out with a magic marker and wrote Zama, Z-A-M-A. What the hell is Zama? He said, that's in Japan. You don't need to go home. I said, how come you make that kind of damn decision? Well, they kind of shuffled on down the ramp because they could see there was fixing to be some confrontation. And the guy right behind me had been shot 3 times in the chest with a machine gun and was wired back together. And he was sergeant, and they did the same thing to him. And he raised up and hit that airman and knocked him completely off that ramp and passed out from pain. Oh. So we're into a ward or a hospital ward, and this lady, candy striper, comes around and she says, how would you boys like some milk and cookies? And I said, fresh milk? She said, yeah. And they gave us cookies and milk, and her name was Westmoreland. Well, this crazy sergeant said, ma'am, are you any kin to that son of a bitch named Westmoreland in Vietnam? She said, yeah, that's my husband. And he tried to get out of bed, being all shot up. Stayed there for a while, got healed up, and went back to Vietnam. Well, couldn't find my company when I got back. Couldn't find any orders saying I was supposed to be back there. And finally I found the company and the company clerk, went over battalion headquarters and found Colonel Moore, and I said, where's everybody? And he flew me back out to the company and became company radio operator again. And went on another mission. We stayed on a mission the whole time we was there. We didn't spend very much time anywhere it was safe.
As hard as that was, do you think it made the time go quicker or slower?
No, it went pretty fast.
I know there's a saying, when you're down, there's downtime is the worst because you sleep till you're tired and you eat till you're hungry.
Right.
So it's better to just be busy. Of all the bad things that happened over there, you always have a fond memory. What stands out in your mind about something that you hold on?
I had a little friend over there that I went through ASA training with, and then training back at Benning. His name was Keller, K-E-L-L-E-R. He was from North Carolina, and he lived in the mountains, I guess, like a hillbilly. But he was a little bitty man. He wanted to do everything I did, and he became a battalion radio operator. We had to cross a river, and you waded across the river. Well, on me, I'm 6 foot tall, and it was up here on me.
Oh, man.
Well, we put him between me and another boy. Come on, Keller. And your PRC-25 radio had a little whip antenna on it. And we carried him across the river. We'd carry him, set him down, let him walk, and pick him up, let him get a breath, set him down, let him walk. And you see that antenna going through the water like that. That was the funniest thing that ever happened. And then one of the black boys from Queens had a python crawl off in his foxhole.
Ooh.
22 foot long. And he was a machine gunner. And he started shooting one night, and we had to go tackle him. when he run out of bullets, and he was still trying to shoot that snake. He shot that snake all to pieces. Everybody in the company was flat on the ground, him shooting. He killed that snake. That was pretty funny.
You know, coming out of the 50s, the Army was probably way ahead for mixing and the diversity word that we use today, because there was really only one color was green.
Right.
It became fast brothers, and if we could put the camera on the breakfast we have every Saturday morning, it looks like a slice of heaven. I mean, it's just everybody, every color, everything just sitting there. We're all veterans, and we're brothers. And I think that, out of all the horror of Vietnam, probably one of the most significant things is the close relationships you had and how color went away.
Color didn't exist.
Yeah. It was a description of somebody, but it wasn't.
It wasn't none of us.
Yeah.
Crazy might have been a good description, but color was not.
Yeah.
I noticed this morning sitting in there, some fella came in wearing a calf hat,
Yeah.
a black wannabe Stetson.
Yeah.
I don't know where he bought that hat, but it's not a United States Army issue hat.
Yeah.
I've got an issue hat that Hal Moore gave me at Fort Benning,
Yeah.
and because it's got back straps on it and chin strap, and
A lot of guys serve later and they buy it after they get out, or their kids are in it, and I know
Yeah.
people that do that, but it's an amazing place we have here, and I'm so thankful that we get to sit down and you get to share. So many people like you get to share these stories that people need to hear.
and there's so many guys that come in here that don't ever talk about this,
Yeah.
and this is a good place for them to vent, share their stories,
Yeah.
and
Well, sir, welcome home. Nobody gets left at home or left alone at the Honor Cafe, and we always end these interviews with somebody beside a brother, because that's what it's all about. Veterans supporting veterans, and we didn't have the kind of reception home that you had, and that's why we really love honoring you guys and saying welcome home.
thank you.
And we're so proud. We're so proud, brother. Thank you.
Appreciate it.